again public comment and privilege of the floor. If there's anybody who wishes to come to address council at this time, please come to the microphone, tell us who you are, where you live, and what's on your mind. Welcome back, Mr. Straw.
Michael Straw, 499 West Jefferson Street, apartment 507. Thank you, Councilman Hall. I had a question for clarification regarding a question I had on the BLCC and Borough stipulation in terms of having that on the agenda. You said that essentially that the staff creates the minutes as it should, and council receives and looks at the minutes. And so you said that you saw the minutes prior, and I don't know in terms of the timetable when you saw it, but you were parties in a lawsuit, and each and every one of you were sued with the exception of the mayor. And you both knew, well, you all knew essentially that both the rescindation of the Merck ordinance, and you also knew essentially that the stipulation had to be agreed to and put on the agenda. And so if you see them prior, why didn't you reach out to the administrative staff to tell them that it wasn't on the agenda? Because, you know, it's the reason why I asked that also is, you know, it's to cover your butts as well, your parties to a lawsuit. If essentially the BLCC were to see that you didn't have that on the agenda, wouldn't they say that you are only essentially before the meeting covering half of what they're asking you to do?
No. So I think that we've covered this ground earlier today, and I think that what we have said is that at the time that council received the agenda, that was an agenda item. And I think that you're asking us, the premise of your question was that somehow we would have seen that this was not on the agenda at the time we saw it. When we received the agenda, it was on it. We now have our solicitor, Mr. Scott, here. Mr. Straw came earlier today. He had some questions about the agreement between Broomall's Lake Country Club and the borough that was discussed last month. And I think there was, as I recall, there was some question, a legal question that you raised as to whether or not this is something that was an agenda item. Am I correct in that?
I'm not quite sure what you're asking, but I think where we're going here is that the agenda listed a motion to rescind the Merck ordinance, but not to approve the settlement stipulation. Is that the nature of your question?
Correct.
And in retrospect, it should have said both. And I was the one that suggested that that the agenda have rescind Merck ordinance. To me, that was kind of shorthand for approve the whole thing. It would have been better if it had said approve settlement stipulation and rescind Merck ordinance. But I used the shorthand, and that's why it said what it did.
Okay. Thank you.